It's going to be a great time. And I get to introduce our guest tonight. So our guest is the CEO and founder of the Women's MTB Network. She's an assistant counsel at the environmental firm in Southern Cal. With a passion for justice and equality, she supports the firm with all contracts, employment, environmental law issues, while championing women's empowerment in the biking world. She's going to talk about that. Through the network's unbiased bike reviews and community events, she is dedicated to empowering women cyclists and fostering inclusivity in the mountain bike community. Friends, would you show some love for our special guest right here on Circles Masterclass, Mia Paula. Mia, thank you so much for being here, love.
Thank you for having me. That was an amazing introduction. I'm overwhelmed by the amount of people that are here. Thank you all for coming.
Yeah, super, super cool. Okay, my friend, you and I had a little pre-call. We talked about, your bio, but your bio only tells us a portion of you. I wondered if you could give our guest tonight a little bit of your story, kind of what your journey has been, some of those highs, some of those lows, and let's just go on a journey together. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. I'll let you have the floor. Go ahead and share a little bit more about who Mia Paula is.
Sure. Well, thank you again to everyone who's joined. I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little iffy. I am just getting over COVID for the first time. But my journey started, if you could tell, I have a little bit of an accent. I'm originally from Australia, although my parents immigrated to Australia when I was just a kid from Brazil. So I'm an immigrant on all fronts. But I am also a gay Latina woman. And so the struggles for me began as a child and, trying to find myself in high school, dealing with my sexuality, dealing with my parents kicking me out of the house for being gay, falling in love with a person who was my first love and who was a very troubled human being. She's an amazing human being, but very troubled. And through that, I developed a lot of anxiety and depression and body image issues and self-harm. But I was able to overcome that. And I'm not going to lie, the struggles are still there to this day. But I was able to overcome a lot of it with support and help and self-healing and compassion for myself, boundaries, all those things. And in a nutshell, I'm still here. I'm still standing, and it is something that I have battled with up until 6 or 8 months ago, the depression side of things. But every day things just seem to get better because I have a support system. I have a beautiful spouse. I have my mountain bike community, and I'm very, very grateful that I've been able to overcome a lot of darkness in my life to still be here and find the strength to help and support others.
Yeah. I absolutely love it. Now, I put 3 words on my paper that have to be instrumental or significant in this anxious state maybe that you grew up. You identified as gay, Latino, and female woman, yes?
Yes.
So what I heard there also is what society, it's really interesting, Mia, and you know this, when society has a chance to label us, as soon as they label us, they can judge us, right? They can sum us up, they think. So you're feeling this internal being in you, but yet you're struggling with trying to identify with this external thing that says you should be like this, right?
Exactly.
And that's producing some of this. Now, how old were you, if you don't mind me asking, when all of this anxiety, depression kind of started in your life?
The worst part of it, I was 19, and that was really when I was dealing with my sexuality. Like, I had no idea who I was. I did have a high school boyfriend, but it was all these things, right? It exacerbated when I was with my first ever partner, and she had her own mental health struggles. And so that's when things got worse. When I was 19.
So I know this is you and I've had this conversation, my friend, and I know it's deep and dear to your heart. Do you mind letting us in just a peek of what that
Yeah.
journey was and why it's been so significant in shaping your life? Yeah.
Yeah. So the first, your first love, I think we all remember our first love, good or bad. She, like I said, was an amazing human being, but was dealing with her own issues with drug addiction and depression and anxiety. And I didn't know a lot of this when we first started dating, but as our relationship progressed, things got progressively worse, whereby twice I walked in on her trying to take her life. Once she just swallowed a bunch of pills and cut her beautiful red hair off and woke up, and I was there. And the second time was just in the bathroom. I won't go into details, but it got to a point where I was so desperate to help her that I had lost myself in that moment. I had forgotten to take care of myself. I had forgotten to be around my family and my friends. And in turn, I'd started to develop a lot more anxiety and depression. And I had to make the very difficult decision to walk away, because if I didn't walk away, I was going to end up in the same way. And thankfully, this was 20 or something years ago. She got better. She found a partner. She ended up having 3 beautiful kids. But about 6 years ago, she took her life. And we had reconnected briefly before that. And I thought she was doing better and still being able to provide some sort of guidance, even though I was here in the US and she was in Australia. And I was very shocked to learn, like 3 days after I had spoken with her, her sister told me she had passed. So that was pretty rough.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Friends, I appreciate you. I see your hand here, and I'm going to ask you just to hold your thoughts and questions for just a moment as we guide this conversation, and then we'll open it up for questions, okay?
All right,
So,
not a
yeah,
problem. Thank you.
thank you so much. Stay with us, please. Stay with us. You said some things, Mia, that really struck me. One was I was so desperate to help. Anybody in the room tonight understand what that feels like about being desperate to help others, right? But then you dropped something honest, and that was, if I didn't get away from this situation, it was going to affect me. I was not going to help it. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. Is there a point in there what that gave you that warning signal? You got to get out, you got to get away, do you remember what that was at all, Mia? Just curious.
Yeah, there were a few things. One was a mutual friend came to me and made the observation and told me. Another was my family, my dad, kind of wanting to step in and help. And then the third thing was when I realized I wanted to self-harm. I wanted to self-harm to feel better, because I wasn't doing drugs or anything like that like she was, because that's what some people do, right? So it took a lot, but I was able to find people who stuck by and pulled me out of it.
Yeah. What you said struck a chord in me, and that is that it drove you to this point of realizing that, I hope you hear this, friends, this environment that I am in is so toxic that it's causing me to want to harm myself. That to me, Mia, says that this energy that was all about self-harm was actually beginning to influence you, driving you to make decisions. It wasn't the higher you that you knew you were to be. It was the constant pressure of the environment that can continue to be more toxic and more toxic. And that pressure makes you go inward and then even contemplate self-harm. How did I do with that? Did I get that even close?
100%. You nailed it.
Gosh.
You nailed it.
And I think it speaks to everybody. Maybe our situation is different. Our immediate situation is different, But if it's toxic, friends, I want you to pay attention to that part of you that maybe it's not talking about self-harm. Maybe it's just constant aggravation, constant upset, constant losing your temper, constant unhappiness, unfulfilled. Those could be signs of self-harm too, right? Do you think, Mia?
Yeah, I do, because you're constantly in that rut or that cycle that you can't get out of. And it does happen, to everyone to this day. You brought up a good point. My
Yeah.
wife does the same thing. She works a lot, and I keep telling her, you need to take a break. It's sustainable, and she's harming herself by working 90 hours a week and not taking a break.
Oh.
So, yeah, it's very, yeah.
I love it. Friends, do me a favor, drop in the chat what you could identify either as a current or a past, maybe self-harm. We're calling it self-harm. I know that's a very strong statement. It doesn't mean that we're cutting or doing those things. It could be, but if you would, if you can relate, maybe drop something in the chat that says here, for me, I can tell you, Mia, mine is what you talking about your wife does, is I
Mm-hmm.
just dive head first into activity. I got to
Yeah.
be doing something. I can't sit still, because that sit still means it just is a negative to me. So I go, do. And then pretty soon I'm completely wiped, right? Exhausted. Don't have anything left
Yep.
for anybody. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
So your first love ends up taking her own life. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That had to be extremely difficult on you. Okay. And I don't want to press her pride too much, but how do you heal from something like that, my friend? How do you embrace that, witness it? How do you rationalize it? Can you talk to us a little bit?
I mean, it's I kind of equate it to, grief is subjective to each individual, but it's in the same vein that I grieved when I've lost other people in my life. But um, I was very I was very sad, especially because I went back to that mindset of when I was 19, 20, 21, of still feeling like I failed to help her, still feeling like I should have I should have caught it. I should have caught something weird in her voice, or I don't know. But at the same time, I try to remember her as the good person she was, and the good times that I had with her, and how her family remembers her. Her kids are living on in her legacy. So I, you have to just find a good support system. I'm very glad that my wife is an extremely empathetic and caring human being. And she has helped me a lot with a lot of these feelings.
Yeah. Gosh, I appreciate you, my friend. Let's just have a moment of pause and sit in that. It's authentic. It's real. That's what these
Yeah.
conversations are about. I appreciate you being so vulnerable with us. The chat is lighting up with these indicators. One is talking about she feels bad about herself. Another is saying that her husband is married to his job. That's a huge one in relationships. The partner is out working.
Mm-hmm.
One of our friends tonight, their daughter seems to be self-harm via cutting. And our hearts go to you, friends, for what you're going through. And our thoughts and prayers are that your loved one will have an epiphany, an awareness. May a voice their own rise up in them and go, you're worth more than this, right? It's like,
Yeah.
may those, I don't know if you've ever watched that movie. It's kind of an odd one, but it's like all of these people. Now, in this particular movie, they're elite trained soldiers of war, and they're all called sleeping. And then when they need the warriors, they do something and it wakes them up. And that
Mm.
internal warrior comes screaming out and they do their job. I think, Mia, my friend, there's so many of us that are guilt ridden, sad ridden,
Yeah.
depressed ridden. And I don't know, I think there's need for a clarion call. And I think your voice tonight is a part of that clarion call, meaning come out wherever you
Mm.
are. It's time, right? It's time.
Yeah.
So you found a lot of help in a support system after you went through this. What did that support system look like? Was it family? Was it your current wife? Can you talk to us a little bit about what that looked like?
And no, it was really just me trying to find myself. I wasn't going to university at the time. I was just trying to find a job and deal with accepting myself and my sexuality and finding my community in a way of like-minded people who understood what I was going through. Eventually, I moved out into a better place with some friends, and things were a little bit better from there. And that's where I met my ex who brought me to the States. I came here to meet her. And at the time, thankfully, at the time, I say that loosely, gay marriage wasn't legal. And I say that thankfully because I knew I would have married her and it would have ended bad. But I was kind of forced to go back to school if I wanted to stay here. And I was fortunate enough to where my dad helped me go back to school. So I did, like at 25 years old, I went back to university to get my undergraduate degree. And that's where I met my now wife. Like I had ended that previous relationship, and then I have been with her since. It's been 13 years this fall. It'll be 13 years this fall.
It's beautiful.
And that's where life started to get better. You know, I mean, I'm not going to say it got easier quickly. It's like I said, it's a lot of work to this day. I still do work daily on myself, but you have to do that work to feel better. You know, at least that's how I've been able to overcome it.
Yeah. I'm getting the hair standing up on my arm every time. There's a little bit of that Australian accent that comes out of Nubia, and every time it does, I go, "Ooh, I love that!" I just like the hair just goes shooting straight up. I just love that Australian accent. Anybody in the house pick it up? It's just a little nuance that you have.
I don't think I have an Aussie accent at all. When I go back home, people think I'm American. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Of course. That's the way they do it. Friends, we're going to get to your comments and questions. Thank you so much. The chat is lighting up. People are sharing their stories and their journeys. I love it. I knew this conversation was meant to be. When we talk about, one of the things I love that you said is one of the tools that you used was self-exploration. Yes, I know a lot of us go outside. Let me go to the seminar. Let me read the book. Let me go to the counselor. Those are all external resources. It sounds like you went internal and tried to find this other version of you. Is that close? Yeah.
I had to, and I want to touch on what Sharon said in the chat in a little bit, but I had to really, I went into therapy. So right after that happened with my ex, 20 years ago, and a lot of things came out in therapy that I had forgotten about. Things that happened to me as a child that I don't know if people want to share, if it's triggering, but it's like things that snowballed throughout my life that I had to hit this bottom of like, oh, so this event with this woman triggered me remembering this event from when I was a kid, to then coming out again, to then being in an abusive relationship, to that, so it snowballed into this horrible thing, to then be like, okay, now let's work on one thing at a time. One thing at a time, because I'm not going to fix myself tonight. I'm not going to fix myself in one day. And I've tried that. I've always been a very black and white person. My therapist reminds me to this day, it's either yes or no. When you can't live like that, you have to be kind to yourself, and you have to work on one thing at a time. And just because you failed today doesn't mean you're going to fail tomorrow. It doesn't mean you give up. The analogy my therapist always used with me is, if you have one tire slashed, are you going to fix that tire, or are you going to slash the other three? So I always have that in the back of my head of like, okay, no, I felt I was really crappy to myself today, but I'm gonna tell myself that I love my body, because it gets me up in the morning. It gets me walking. It gets me on my bike. It gets me to be with my partner. So I don't know if I totally went off topic there, Jeff, but that's kind of.
You're sitting in right where you should sit in. Friends, I want you to drop in the chat one thing that you want to work on. One thing. If you take one thing from tonight's conversation, what is the one thing that you can work on? Drop that in the chat for us. I would love to be able to hear your feedback. You had mentioned the chat. I believe it was Sharon. Your thoughts on some of the comments that are going on in the chat right now, Mia?
Yeah, she was talking about, I think, how her child was self-harming.
Yes.
And that is a very difficult thing. I can imagine, because I remember when I was doing that, and my mother was desperate to try and figure out how she could help me. And I was in so deep that I had no idea. But one of the things that I found was that I had to I had to beg her to listen without judgment. And I'm not saying you're not doing that at all. Um, but it was very hard for me to try and open up with her when we had this huge gap that we didn't know how to communicate with each other. And as it turns out, a lot of things came out in that conversation that she didn't know about me that helped me open up to her, and in turn helped her help me come to her when I was feeling the urge to do something where she could then assist.
Yes.
Um, and there were deeper things in there that had happened to me that were coming out at that time that I didn't know how to deal with. So I'm uncertain if maybe that's something your kid is going through. There's something really deep in there that she's struggling to communicate with you about. That's from
Yeah.
personal experience. I am not a therapist. That's just purely from my experience.
Yeah. I love it. I do want to pause. I see some hands coming up. Are you okay, Mia? Let's just have a
Yeah.
half a second, open it up. Thank you, friends, for being with us tonight. I'm Jeff, your host, and we are listening to Mia de Paula. She's sharing her story from darkness to hope. We've gotten into some deep things. She lost her first love to suicide. I'm sorry, do we have some interference with somebody's microphone? If you could just mute yourself, guys, for me. Super cool. She's talking about how she got through the difficult part of her life. And then now we're looking at the hope side. So before we go on further, let's pause and take some questions. Sharon, I see your hand. Thank you for being patient. Unmute yourself and ask your question, please. Go ahead.
Yes. I think you read my post about my daughter.
Yes.
I heard you speaking. My question is that I got her a therapist and a psychiatrist. And the biggest issue that I'm having is I'm not again, I want to say that I'm not against what is it called, bisexual, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that's those people lies. I'm not gonna be there, but I want to be there for my daughter. And my
Mm-hmm.
biggest issue that I found out, the reason why my daughter was cutting was because me and her father, we got divorced. Okay, not going to go
Mm-hmm.
into it because I know a lot of people have questions. So what happened was basically she came over to my house. It was my weekend. And I saw her drawing on herself. And I said, "Why are you drawing on yourself?" And she looked at me like a weird way. I was like, this is a safe place. You can tell me. And the
Mm-hmm.
first question she asked me, and it was really, really, it kind of really, really hurt me. And maybe you can kind of help me or anybody else. The first thing that she said to me was, "Mom, I am bisexual. I am gay, and I don't know how you're going to take it. And that's the reason why I was cutting myself." Then when she went to her father, and because she lives with her dad, she came over to visit me. She went
Mm-hmm.
over to her father, and she told her father, and she told my mom, and she told the family, and the family told her, "No, you you know you're not bisexual, you're not this, you're not that." And I'm thinking to myself, people that do that, don't they harm people more than they are?
Yeah, that's a
is
beautiful.
is that
Yes,
am I right or am I wrong? I just
yes.
I just don't know, because you know I'm
It.
seeing that my other daughters are bisexual. My son,
Mm-hmm.
he's starting to find out that he's bisexual, and he's only 10. And that's fine with me. I have no problem because that's not my life. That's their
Yeah.
life. They're
I,
living their life. I
yeah.
can't judge them and say, no, you can't do this and this. No, because I'm not the one laying down with them. I'm not the one getting married with them. I'm not the one that's doing
Yeah.
this or this.
Yeah.
So my question being is, for me, should I keep on supporting my daughter? And she asked me last week, and it really hurt me, and I don't know why, but she said, if you ever tell dad, all of the kids, they came and they sat with me, and they sat down, they told me this. They said, Mom, if we tell you something, you promise that you don't tell nobody in the family. And if you do,
Yeah.
we will start cutting ourselves.
Yeah.
Is that
So
true?
yeah, that's an excellent question, Sharon. Thank you for bringing it up. Let's give me a chance to share
Okay.
that.
Yes,
And
I would love to hear that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Sharon. Thank you for the
So
question and the comment. Go ahead, Mia.
I think you're amazing for supporting your kids and approaching them without judgment because I didn't have that for a really long time. Um, and I think it's very, very great of you to do that. Being someone who is gay and has dealt with it, I feel as though just loving them and respecting their wishes is the best approach. And absent this, what they said, like kind of threatening to say, "Well, I'm going to cut myself if you tell them." That's probably them just trying to communicate with you how hurt they are, and that's the only way they can express it. That's the only way they can say, "This is really hurtful because the rest of the family is telling me how I should be." And
I
being
should be
gay, even
straight.
to
That's
this
what they're
day,
telling them.
yeah, and that who like just like you said, who are they to tell someone else how to live? You're
Yeah.
don't
You
don't
chose
don't get
they
in someone
they
else's
chose to
mind.
get married.
Yeah. Yeah.
They chose to have children. They chose
Exactly.
to do that. So why can't I live my life the same way?
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think being there for your kids and supporting them and gaining their trust and during a time in their lives that's really difficult
Mhm.
is really imperative, especially because being gay is extremely dangerous in certain
Of
parts of the
course.
country right now.
Yes, yes.
And I've experienced my fair share of unpleasantries. I'm fortunate that I live in a part of California, but I could not imagine kids that are dealing with this in other parts of the country right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just being there for them, I think, is really important.
And sorry, I
Beautifully
just have
said.
one more question. I know
Yeah.
everybody's asking
Yeah.
questions, but I just have this one question. I have all of my kids in therapy and they go to a psychiatrist, they take medicine. My only thing that I wanted to ask you is my son is confused. I
Yeah.
asked him if he's only 10 years old, and I asked him, "Did you want me to get you a therapist and you can sit down and talk to her and tell her how you feel?" And he says
Hmm.
to me all the
Yeah.
time, no. And I'm concerned that maybe down the line, he'll cut himself like his sister. So, what would be, I know you're not a doctor or anything, but what would be your advice for me to do for my son? Because I'm concerned about
Great.
him.
Great question.
I think you should just listen to him. And if he displays any type of self harm, physical self harm, then
Okay.
that's when you would step in. But because he's so young, I think, putting him in therapy when he doesn't want to, or it's something so harsh, I think, depending for a kid that age, I would just be the best mother you can and listen to him, just be involved, just,
Yeah.
be
I
there
love it.
for him. Because kids are going to change their mind on things. It's a really
Yeah.
difficult thing. When I get asked, how did I know I was gay? I usually point it to puberty because that's when we all know when we're attracted to someone, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, that person's cute. And you're like 13, 14, whatever. So just let him be
Yeah.
him, give him the space and love him.
I love it. I love it. Thank you very much,
Thank you
Sharon, for
very
your
much
comments and quotes.
for your input, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna let you go so you can answer everybody's question. Thank you for
Good
that.
luck.
I
Good
appreciate
luck.
you, Sharon. Thank you so much. I see, go ahead. I see your hand. Please unmute yourself. And friends, as you ask questions, we thank you so much. Remember, we have a limited amount of time. We do want to try to get as many questions and comments in. And Mia's got some more of her story we got to unpack, friends. So hang with us, okay? She's got a lot more to share with us. So I see, go ahead. You're live with Mia and Jeff on Circles. Go ahead.
Hey Mia, the question is for you, and I'll make it really quick. So I had also mentioned in the chat that my daughter self harms via cutting herself.
Mm-hmm.
She's on and off, has a lot of suicidal thoughts and urges to cut. Her biological, her father had sexually abused her since she was in kindergarten up until she was 9 years old when I found out. She is in therapy. She understands that she can talk to me, but she's always been programmed not to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really a hard thing for her to do. Sometimes she can text
Mm-hmm.
and talk about things, but she doesn't come to me prior to self harming.
Mm-hmm.
And she is in therapy. Is there anything else that you think that I can do in order to help her?
Um, well, I'm going to share with you that that is what happened to me when I was a kid too, and I think that's what triggered my self-harm late in my teens. Um, and I think, how old is your kid, if you don't mind me asking? How old is she now?
So, well, she's 13 now, but it
She's
happened
13.
since she was
Okay.
in kindergarten until she was
Yeah.
9, and we just went through trial. So he's now serving 52 years, but
Oh,
that's just like a recent thing. But it was some of the most. I mean, I'm talking about her entire life.
yeah.
So
Yeah. So this is going to take a long time for her to trust anyone, even if you're her mother. And and I think being there for her and just constantly reiterating that you are there to help her and that you want to help her if she can talk to you before she does it so that you can find a way to help her through it would be amazing. Um, that's how I would approach it. But and also, if she, I'm assuming she's seeing a therapist, but if she has other support groups that she could speak with, because unfortunately, this is a common thing. And if there's other groups that have of girls who have gone through it where she could relate to them and heal together, I think that would be great because I wished I had that when I was a kid.
yeah, I've looked for groups for her, but I haven't found any luck yet. But I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep looking. But yeah, she's in therapy, but I haven't found any groups for minors.
Yeah.
You just got to be patient with her because this really will take a long time. Like you said, is the majority of her life, right? So trusting people is going to be a really big deal for her.
Yeah, and I think I appreciate you, Charm. Thanks so much for the questions. And it's hard because as a parent, we want to reach out, and sometimes our reaching out can seem intrusive because we're
Right.
scared. And so our energy that we're actually giving off is actually pushing them away rather than bringing them to us, kind of like, right. So I think, Mia, I agree with you, is just being a safe space and just reminding, maybe not giving advice, but just letting her know that it's safe. I'm
Yeah,
there. You
exactly.
can always be here.
Exactly.
That's a beautiful opportunity. Thank you, Trump, very much for being vulnerable
Jeff,
and sharing. We
I'm
appreciate you.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
The person that was just talking about that she couldn't find a group,
Ivy.
I don't know who that was.
Okay.
Um,
Ivy.
Ivy, if you could reach out to me, I
Okay.
I have a lot of resources, and there is a place that I take my kids, and they're all underage. So if you need
Perfect.
any information, you can reach out to me. I just wanted to let
Perfect.
you know.
Perfect, Sharon. Thank you so much. You guys continue in the chat and share if you want to do that. I appreciate that. Great. Lots of connections going here. I appreciate it. We got a couple more hands in the air. Mia, are you okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Super cool. All right, and friends, we're gonna take one or two more, and then we're gonna move right on into the rest of our conversation for the night. So, Kathy, I see your hand. Go ahead, unmute yourself and ask your
Yeah,
question with Mia.
I wanted to talk. The mom that was talking about her daughter that was sexually abused throughout her youth. I also experienced that myself, and one thing I want you to also consider is what her father told her about you and your reaction if she ever told you anything. She may think that you are jealous of her or that she's your rival somehow, and that she feels very shameful about it too. She feels like it's somehow her fault. And that's something that's real common. We think we
Yeah.
had something to do with it. We brought it on to ourselves. And I think telling her that you're a safe place that whatever she tells you goes nowhere else, and that you love her unconditionally, and that
Yep.
what happened was not her fault, no matter what her father said to her, that it's not her fault, and you're her mom and you love her unconditionally. And maybe say, I'm sorry, I didn't know it was going on sooner, honey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she touched on that. I think Ivy did mention that she's been programmed not to say anything and not to talk to her. So,
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Friends,
yeah.
could you do me a favor? It sounds like we've got lots and lots of interference in the background. Could you just make sure that your your mic is on mute for me so that we can drown that out, please? It just makes it really interfering with the conversation. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Now we need to hang on to your thoughts and comments just for a minute longer. I appreciate it. What I'd love to do, Mia, is because we've kind of taken a lot of time to talk about the dark period that you went through, some of the challenges that you went through. And I'd really love for your story to now turn that corner for us, because you found some hope along the way. You got involved in other things. You found some outlets that really added to the quality of your life when you went through this, yes?
Yes, yes, very
Yeah.
much so.
So share with me, if you would, friends. Let's go ahead and hold our comments and thoughts for just a little while longer so that I can ask these questions of Mia and we can get more in depth in the conversation. So do you mind taking us on that journey? What made this huge shift for you then, and moving into the hope and the strength and the healing that you experienced, Mia?
I found self-worth, because even when I
Mm-hmm.
came here first, I was in a relationship that was very emotionally abusive. And I got to a point when I was in my last semester of college that I found my self-worth, and I found friends that I confided in who, very similar to the situation I had years prior in Australia with my first girlfriend, where they told me, like, this isn't okay, you need here, we're going to help you. And finding my self-worth and the strength to leave a situation with a bag of clothes and my instruments at the time. And I was briefly homeless for a period of time. But at that point, I was able to find strength. Even though I didn't have a place to go, I had my strength of what I was worth. And from there, I was able to find someone who took me in for 6 months. I finished my college. I met my now wife and just started therapy, and delved into things I enjoyed. Like, I can play 5 different instruments, and I've been a drummer since I was a kid. So I was just drumming. I was just doing something I liked for no rhyme or reason. I was doing it because I love immersing in music and listening to music. And then I discovered hiking with my partner. You know, she's an archaeologist, so we were always out, like, hiking or finding some cool stuff. So what really turned the corner was finding something that I enjoyed, like deeply enjoyed, and explored it. And that's really how I was able to get to where I am today, is like continuing to do something for the pure joy of it. Not because you want to be the best at it or you're competing with other people, but simply because you enjoy it.
Yeah. Beautifully said, friends. I wrote a question in the chat, is what do you enjoy deeply? I love that word, deeply. What do you deeply enjoy? Even the practice, friends, of when you're in the midst, feeling overwhelmed, the situation is never going to change, I don't know what I'm going to do. At that specific moment, being able to switch, we call it flip the switch, flip the script.
Yep.
Deeply, what do you want to do right now? Now, you strike a chord in me, Mia, because in my journey, I had found myself extremely overweight, depressed, completely unhappy. I remember playing golf at the time, and I would walk up on an elevated green and actually have to lean on my putter because I was out of breath. I was that heavy. For me, that heavy looked like about 240 plus pounds. I weigh in right now at a cool maybe 175, 180
Oh,
tops.
good for you.
But it was phenomenal. But I say all that to say what you started to say about finding something you deeply loved. I found mountain biking. I found biking to be the most wonderful thing that I could ever. It was like the greatest therapy on two wheels that I have ever experienced, Mia.
Yeah.
What was so cool, and I want to shift the conversation just a half a second with this lead in, because I know you too found that same
Yeah.
passion, you hiking, but that turned into mountain biking, which now seems to be a very much of your passion. Yes.
Yeah, and it's funny because I really delved into mountain biking after I experienced a loss. I
Mm.
lost my dog unexpectedly to cancer. He was only 7. He was my soulmate. He was my everything, that dog. And we ended up going to Sedona, Arizona, which is such a healing place. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take my mountain bike. And I rode my bike in Sedona, and that's what I really fell in love with the sport, because I thought of my dog being with me the whole time. To this day, like, my mountain bike has him on it. It has his little face on the stem cap. It has him as, like, he's just a part of my bike. And so, sorry if I'm getting emotional for the first time, but that's something that, out of loss and out of grief, the way to find hope and come out of it a little bit is to do something you enjoy, even if it's watching your favorite TV show, if you're sitting on the couch or you're YouTubing how to do something.
Yes.
There's a place to start, and you just have to dig a little deep and find what that is for you.
Yeah. I know our chat filled up with a friend who said that they had lost their joy. I don't totally
Yeah.
understand that. We understand that. Let me just pose this. Have you ever had a good day? I mean, the energy is flowing. Somebody looked at you, whistled at you, said hi to you, opened the door for you, just made you feel like $1,000,000. Work is going right. Relationships going right. Partners going right. Cars going right. Money's going right. Everything's going right. Ever have one of those days? The
Not
flip side of that,
100%,
I wish I had more, right? You and me both.
But you do have days where you're not feeling good, and then someone does show kindness, and that does change your day. Whether that's opening the door for you, or, like you said, smiling, saying hi when you're going on a walk, a compliment from a friend, something unexpectedly happened to you. You find an extra $5 in your pocket. Like, that's a good day. What I mean?
Indeed, that's rolled up there for a Starbucks. It's just waiting on a special Starbucks day for you, right? I love what you just transitioned into, because that's kind of what I was alluding to, is that one of the ways that we can have a good day when we're having a bad day is help someone else have a good day.
Yeah.
Right? Come on, somebody.
Absolutely.
That's one of the, you say, Jeff, I can't get my head out of what's happening to my daughter, she's doing, or my son, he's doing, or my partner, he's doing, or me, my God, the work. I mean, if we stop and realize that we are in that, immersed in that. Now, the flip side of the great day is the bad day. But here's what I begin to glean, and I would love your perspective on this, Mia. Both the good day and the bad day are both really, in essence, a lie. Because a good day is making me feel good, a bad day is making me feel bad. But the revelation is, I am neither the feeling of the good day or the bad day. I am the I am who is experiencing both of those dichotomies. Does that make sense?
Interesting.
Because we have a tendency to go, oh God, they worked out, that worked out, that worked out, that happened, that's good. I must be in proper alignment with the good in my life. And that is a vicious, heavy cycle that will not accept sad when sad knocks at the front door. So I have to realize that I am neither sad nor glad. Sad is an emotion that I'm experiencing. Glad is an emotion that I'm experiencing. And right now, all of these issues that are bringing out emotions in me, this is not my identity. It is not my worth. It is not my value. It is something simply I am experiencing. Right?
See, that's powerful right there. Not tying what you just said, which is not tying your identity of what you perceive to be your identity to the emotion. Not tying yourself down to saying, I'm just a depressive person, or I have no joy, or I have anxiety. That's not your identity. Your identity is measured on you as a person, how good of a person you are, the kindness you bring, the love you have, how you're trying to better yourself. But pigeonholing yourself to your identity where you, like you said, you're either a depressed person or you're not, or you're a content person, that's not, you shouldn't tie yourself to that. That's very powerful what you just said.
Yeah. So well said. I've always said, whatever follows your I am, you are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I am sad.
Yeah.
Guess what? You're sad. And I'm friends. Help me. Don't just take my word for it. I know I'm the host. I know I'm leading the conversation. But friends, come on. I'm real. I'm just like you. I say ouch when I get pinched. I'm telling you, whatever follows my I am. That's what I am.
Yeah.
I'm sad. And I guarantee you, if we just all start thinking sad thoughts right now, guess what? We would all need a pill. Come on, somebody. Right?
Yeah.
But Mia, I know you've experienced this. When I feel sad, there's another vision inside of me that sees me riding my mountain bike or sees me doing some other activity. And that activity, whether it's running, eating well, visiting a friend, making a phone call, going and riding my bike, it has an energy. And that energy starts to war against the negative energy. And whichever energy I give into, somebody called it whichever wolf you feed, that's the one that's going to control that very moment in your life.
It's true.
And my friend, that's what I love about what you're doing with the Women's Mountain Bike Network. Because in that community, you're helping people who would never find you. But once they do, they're not just pedaling a bike, right? They're pedaling. Come on, you're going to make me cry now, Mia. Shit. They're not just pedaling a bike. They're pedaling away depression. They're pedaling away fear. They're conquering things they never thought they could conquer. And that feeling of, oh my God, I'm a fucking warrior. Pardon me. I don't know who's on the call that just got offended, but I apologize. But I'm a freaking warrior. And what I'm doing right now is sharing with me that this too is going to pass. I am not what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Okay, it's your call, not mine, friend. I got to yield the floor to you. Good God. I hope somebody caught what we said. Oh,
yeah.
But you find that in the community.
So true.
Yes, you find that
Yes,
in the community.
100%. And one of the things I love is empowering women to realize that it doesn't matter how old you are. If you want to do something, go and effing do it. Because I hear it over and over again from women who say, I'm too old to mountain bike. One of my best friends, one of my neighbors, she just turned 50. She just is starting to ride a bike with me. There is this woman. She's amazing. Her name's Heidi. She's 72 years old and she's on a mountain bike.
Oh,
a
come
regular
on, say
mountain
that.
bike, not even an e-bike. Like, and so that's the thing. Like, we women were programmed to believe we have to hit certain milestones in our lives to do what we have to do. That's bullshit. Pardon my French. Do what makes you happy. I don't care how old you are. Go dancing, start knitting, go gardening, go for a run. You know, your endorphins will reward it. One thing I will say though, Jeff, that a lot of people don't talk about is you hit a certain age as a woman, and this happened to me, which is why I'm bringing it up. No matter how much you struggle and you try and feel better to bring yourself back up, certain women deal with hormonal issues that you cannot control. And so for me, I fought not having to take medication for a really, really, really long time to deal with my ups and downs, my ebbs and flows. But I've come to realize that I have something called PMDD, which is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And I have to have some hormone imbalancement to help me with that. And that has helped me tremendously. I still have my low days, and I can get off it whenever I want. But if you're experiencing a hormone imbalancement that's impeding you from overcoming certain things or thoughts, and you're over 40, because I'm 41, please talk to your doctor about it, because it will help you.
Yeah, I'm so glad you say that. My wife is 50, just turned 50, and has been going through that hormonal balance and change for the last couple of years, Mia. And it's real. I mean, it's real. It's real from both sides. Now, what just struck a chord in me, friends, I don't know if you can relate or not, I'm sure you can, is that sometimes there's this thinking of, oh, if I take a medication, or, oh, if I do this, that means I'm weak. I probably should be able to handle this on my own. You know, I used to subscribe to that ideology, and I
Same.
thought, frick no, give me a pill. If a pill will make me happy all day long so that I can be productive and love myself and love my family and love. My mom, I experienced this, Mia, was bipolar. She had epilepsy when I was a little boy. So I grew up in this very high traumatic environment to where she would go into these grand mal seizures all the time. And not only that, she would take medication until she felt that she was better and she didn't need it anymore. And then guess what? She wouldn't take it anymore. But as soon as she wouldn't take it, that which was in her caught up to her and would cause her to go through these vicious cycles. And I start to witness that. And again, I grew up with that ideology as, you know, I don't want to take a pill. I'm a man. I can handle it. Frick that. It's like, give me the pill and I'm going to make sure that I'm stable, because when I'm stable, I love my family. When I'm stable, I love myself. When I'm stable, I help society. So whatever it takes, it's not a negative. It's not a saying or an affirmation that I'm not enough. It's actually more courageous to take it because you know you need it than it is to try to deny it and say you don't need it. Yeah. Oh gosh.
Yeah, but also remember that it is still work. And I think Charm had a question. Is her hand up?
Yep. Yeah, we were both talking. So yep. I see. Sometimes the little hand icon works and doesn't work. Friends, anybody in the house getting anything out of tonight? I love it. Anybody show some love for our guest tonight in the house? So yeah, Sharon, I see her hand as well. Sharon, go ahead. Thank you for being patient with us.
No. I just wanted to say that I learned a lot in this class, and it made me think about a lot of things that maybe I can improve and not improve, and understand from my kids' perspective that I never thought I did. So I wanted to say thank you to Jeff and our guest, and you guys really, this class really opened my eyes to a lot of things. So I appreciate everything that you guys are doing.
Oh my gosh, I'm moved. Thank you so much, Sharon. Yeah, thank you so much. Gosh, didn't we just say that, Mia, before our call? If we could just, you know, help one, reach one. I love it.
Yeah.
Talk to me.
100%.
We've got a few minutes left. Talk to me about the mountain bike. You're the CEO of Women's Mountain Bike Network. This became your passion. This is one of your passions right now. It's kind of where you landed. You're very passionate about it. Can you talk to us a little bit about that community? Maybe there's a listener on today who would want to know more, maybe how they could get involved. Can you share a little bit with us?
Yeah, it basically just started as a sheer frustration of lack of resources for women when it comes to mountain biking. There is nothing on the internet that helps women decide on a bike or pants or shoes or clothes, gear. People often look at women and they think we're stupid and we don't know what we're talking about when it comes to bikes. So I really wanted to create something that could help women, either if they're a beginner or if they're looking for a different bike or they can't find clothing, that kinds of stuff. And I really wanted to make sure I was highlighting women-owned businesses for either clothing, because there is only a few businesses out there that make women-specific mountain bike clothing for any size and any shape, as well as coaches. You know, there's a lot of women that are overlooked for their skills, and I wanted to really be able to highlight that for people. So it's been about a year, and I'm trying. I think we're making some good traction here, and we're helping folks. But if anyone wants to mountain bike or has questions or is curious or knows someone else, like, just send me a message. I'm happy to chat or connect with them or with anyone.
I love it. Carrie in the chat is already saying, I'm a mountain trail rider, but I only have male riding mates. I'd like to find some women to ride with. I'm dropping Mia's website for Women's Mountain Bike Network in the chat, Carrie. So please reach out and see if we can find some people, because that's a part of your network as well, Mia, right? People are coming from all over, and they look you up on the website, and they can find groups all over that to ride with, specifically those that are looking to ride with other women. Yes?
Yeah, we're trying to develop that part of the website where there's going to be a map, and you can go to the map anywhere in the world and find a mountain biking group. But Carrie, I do have people in NorCal that are women that are riders, so you can message me or on Instagram or here or email me, and I'll be happy to connect you with them for sure.
I love it. Wow, that hour just kind of like whizzed right by, Mia. Didn't it go by fast? Didn't it go by fast?
It did.
Friends, thank you for being here. I know we didn't get to some of the questions. I know the chat. I so apologize. Please understand that we want to try to steward. I call it steward because I feel a huge responsibility to steward the time, the conversation, and you. If we didn't get to your question, it doesn't mean your question is not important. We just didn't get to it. So here's what I encourage you to do. Come back. We'll have to have you back, Mia, and you can do part
absolutely.
2. And then everybody that didn't get the chance to ask can ask questions. So friends, at the conclusion of our time here, which is just coming to a close, you're going to have a chance to share your feedback. I would love for you to share something that struck a chord with you that you're going to take away from tonight's conversation and share that in that opportunity that comes up at the close of our meeting. Mia will get to see those as well. So if you have any personal comments and things that you would like to share with her, please do so. If this is your first time at a masterclass, I lead these classes often. You can follow me, and then you'll get a notification of when I have my next class. Anybody in the house, just maybe a heart in the air, do you lead or guide a class here on Circles? Can you just throw up a heart for me if you are one of our guides or facilitators here on Circles? I see Kathy. I just want to honor you and thank you. Marla, I see your heart. Thank you. You being you helps us be us. And what is the most amazing thing about Circles is that anytime, day and night, you're going through a struggle, you can find a room to join, and you can find somebody to listen, to share, to engage with. The purpose of Circles is to end the loneliness epidemic in the world, that no one would be alone when they're going through a very difficult life crisis. Friends, I thank you for sharing your time with me. Mia, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, it's all you. Share something that with our friends one last time before we let you go that we can take with us tonight. What's your encouragement for us?
I want them to really thank you for being here and taking time out of your evening to listen to us. And I hope something has helped or struck a chord, but I challenge you today to find one thing you enjoy and go do that thing, whether it's tonight, tomorrow, or the weekend. Think about it, dig deep, do something you enjoy. You're not going to regret it.
I love it. Do something you enjoy. You're not going to regret it. You heard it here, Mia and Paula live.
You guys rock. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Time. That's our time, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful evening. We'll see you next time right here on Circles Masterclass. Mia, blessings to you and all of it is yours. We'll see you next time.
Same to you. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.